It had been several months since the war began, and Gordo was becoming increasingly concerned with its progress. What was meant to be a short battle over before Croxus had become a bogged down and protracted conflict. The dimensional trenches had spread across multiple systems already, and were only going to continue growing in length and depth. It was these very trenches that had forced a stalemate. What was meant to be a display of their greatest weapons was now nothing more than a meat grinder. "Hey!" One of Gordo's fellow officers called out, hushedly. The man was a relatively slim and almost wiry creature from a world named Hongas 9. "What is it, Vax?" Gordo asked, gliding over using the grav nullifiers that enabled his larger frame species to move freely. "I've received word from the High General." This was never good. The High General, as the man had touted himself, had been pushing for increasingly extreme measures to end the war. "What did His Highness order?" Gordo asked, letting the sarcastic use of the title ooze more than a Dorflerblack during mating season. "Chemical weapons have been approved." Vax's words made all the glibness drain from Gordo's face. "Truly?" "Yes. We are being sent to subsector S3.1 to obtain the weapons required." "But that world is a primitive planet with barely sapient animals." Vax nodded in understanding. The planet had long ago been used as an outpost to deliver chemical weapons, but was long since abandoned. In the intervening years, the species had begun to develop. It was still incredibly primitive. "So we will be harvesting the remnants of the research on this world without the inhabitants knowing, I take it." Gordo had done a few teaser retrievals, teasing being when member states visited primitive worlds for one reason or another, and left the resident species with only weird and unreliable stories. "No, not this time. The probes can remain where they are, and we won't need to use Glorfian disguises either." Gordo arched a brow at that statement. Glorfians were widely recognized as the most insufferable race in the galaxy, so it was common practice when teasing to use holographic projectors to make oneself look like the grey-skinned, large-eyed aliens. However, Gordo sometimes wondered if the reputation was simply due to everyone doing annoying stuff disguised as the grey aliens. "Then how are we to retrieve the chemical weapons?" Vax grinned at this question. "We will disguise ourselves using the holographic field as members of the species and purchase them." "Purchase?" "Yes, it seems the primitives don't know the danger of what they sell." "I see. I pray we do not get exposed to the weapons while we do." It took no more than an hour of standard galactic time to arrive around the blue-colored planet. They could see the relevant tourist spots for teasers already marked out. "Rather a lot of farmlands marked," Vax commented. "Yes, so there is 1 0 out of 10 score for that desert region. Apparently they crashed into a weather balloon over a small town." "So where should we land?" Vax asked. "Near one of these arms bazaars we were told to acquire the weapons from." Punching in the requested data into the AI, the pair watched as it plotted its course towards the nearest weapons depot, where they could buy the weapons they needed. Landing in a grey, concrete-covered area, the ship immediately engaged a cloaking system, making it imperceptible to the primitive natives. Donning their disguises, they readied all the required materials for the purchase, a container holding the local area's currency, and false IDs should they be required. "So, this is where they store the most dangerous materials in the sector?" Vax muttered, with a nervous gulp. "Now, Vax, remember the humans will see us as members of their own species. We will from now on be named Human, as is tradition amongst the species." "Understood," Vax nodded, as his disguise finished taking shape, leaving him looking like a skinny human with pale skin and glasses. "Now my turn," Gordo muttered, activating his own device and altering his appearance to a calorie-efficient human, with what Gordo considered an ironic chess piece. "Star Wars? How amusing that the AI created such a piece of clothing. Stepping forward, they entered the building, prepared for anything. Hi, welcome to Walmart, a human said the moment they entered. Where are the weapons? Vax demanded. Oh, hunting supplies aisle 7, the human cheerily answered, pointing the way. Following the directions given, the pair were confused. They were just displays of primitive projectile weaponry. None of the chemical weapons the AI had told them were sold here. Excuse me? Gordo called out to a human in the store's uniform. I am looking for... Gordo paused, looking around furtively. Capsaicin? Cap a what? The human replied, confused. God, Hugh, he doesn't know what you mean, Vax hastily interceded. It is the thing that burns stuff. Fire? Not that, no, Vax answered, letting out an exasperated sigh. Hey, Mike, you know what capsaicin is? Calling for help from a passing human, the pair grunted in frustration, only for the new human named Mike to reply, Oh, that's just stuff like pepper, that's our too. Come on, guys, I'll show you the way. Feeling suddenly relieved, the pair followed the human Mike only to feel their blood begin to run cold. Well, colder than it already was. Before them was shelf upon shelf of containers that their AI was saying were beyond weapons-grade chemical weapons. And this is all for sale? Vax asked, struggling to believe such weapons were free to access. Well, yeah, we are a store after all, fellas. Oh, I see you one of those extreme heat sorts, ain't ya? Extreme heat? Gordo repeated, confused. Listen, fellas, we have the normal spices. If you want extreme stuff, you need to go to the people who grow them. Otherwise, you won't feel the burn. We would not want to feel the burn anyways, Gordo protested. Don't be scaredy cats. The other week, my bro took a bite of a Carolina Reaper. A Carolina Reaper? Vax echoed. Yeah. A bunch of farmers went out of their way to make it as strong as possible. Like, you see this? The human Mike asked, holding up a small tube with powder. The one he ate was like 20,000 times hotter than this stuff. I'm sorry, did you say 8? Did he die? Vax asked, shocked to hear a species had eaten a chemical weapon. However, his shock was tempered by the fact it was a primitive, ignorant world. Well, he wished he would die at the time, but we all laughed about it afterwards. AI, explain! Gordo shouted at his watch, only for the data provided to make every cell in his body scream to leave the world as soon as possible. Thank you, human Mike. We will handle it from here on out. Hugh, what is the matter? Vax asked. We have to leave as soon as possible, Vax. Look at what the AI uncovered. Following the suggestion, Vax looked at the data and felt fear overcome his entire soul. The world had indeed been a lab for natural chemical weapons. Weapons humans had taken to eating. Not only did they eat them, but they enjoyed them to such a degree that they selectively bred the weapons to make them monumentally more toxic. This whole world is a biohazard, Gordo. I know. Just grab what we can and leave. The pair, with the delicate care of a man moving bottles of nitroglycerin, moved bottle after bottle of cooking spices into the cart, before hastily leaving the shop after handing a briefcase over to the clerk at the checkout. Wait, sirs, you left... A ton of money, the clerk called out after them. Ignoring the call to them to come back, the pair hastily rushed to where their ship was parked, only to see 3 cars with smashed fronts, where they had crashed into the unseen vehicle. I'm starting evacuation protocols now. Without another word, the pair climbed into the ship and flew away. Hey, Mike, you were talking to those 2 guys, the checkout clerk asked. Yeah, why? They brought like $100 of spices and paid with this, she explained, opening a case showing what would be close to $1 million. Well, my best guess is they are really high. Now, do we call the cops or split the cash?